They are where dreams of stardom become reality.
In Acprov, we do obviously singing, dancing, acting.
Britain's drama schools are elite and fiercely competitive, but student allegations of misconduct within them pervade through these prestigious walls.
I always felt unsafe, but I thought that was a good thing.
Holly, whose identity we've hidden, is a former acting student at the East 15 Drama School who has never forgotten an interactive sensory-based lesson set in an 18th century brothel.
We were blindfolded in this experience and guided by our fellow actors in the other cast. Our hands were placed on our breasts, bums and bulges. We then had two smells. The first smell, one of the guys in the group had masturbated into his boxers, and his boxers essentially were held to our noses and we were told to inhale.
A moment, she says, was degrading.
I was very taken aback by that shocking experience of having someone hold a cloth to my nose and tell me to breathe in and it being sperm. For the other smell, I had my head lowered into a bucket, which one of the guys in the group had vomited into, pissed and pooed into, along with a pig's trotter from the butchers. All of this was very much encouraged by the director.
Cruel and questionable teaching practices shared by performing arts student Hannah at another school, whose name we've also changed. She says one teacher stood out for the wrong reasons.
There was a session where he would watch how we walk and where our energy comes from, just by watching us walk. So he'd watch us as we walked around the classroom and he said to me, wow, your attitude really comes from your sex organs, doesn't it?
In another class, Hannah says students had to perform deep tissue massages on each other for an hour.
He would say things like, try that harder, try that deeper, and he'd watch and just kind of snigger to himself.
Uneasy enjoyment at a student's expense. It feels familiar to former acting student Megan at another school, also not her real name. She alleges a teacher used her distress as entertainment in a singing class.
I was asked to seduce the boys on my course and crawl to them while singing a solo, so I started to do that. I started to feel very uncomfortable but couldn't stop. So I started to cry, and once I was crying I was asked to sing it 2 more times and then I was allowed to sit down. I look back on that experience. I can't fathom what the lesson is apart from a sense of being broken.
Trauma that she says was dismissed by the teacher. In a separate, unsupervised lesson run by 2 older male students, Megan says she was asked to perform a scene using a sex toy.
They gave us locations to start these improv scenes, and the location I was given with my scene partner was a sex shop. I had to simulate being penetrated. Everyone was laughing, and I know they weren't laughing at me, but I felt incredibly uncomfortable and exposed.
Megan felt unable to speak up. She says talking about her mental health to her teachers was not an option. She confided in the school's counselling service, but claims nothing changed.
I was walking to the tube every morning and I was hoping that a car would hit me on the journey because that would at least free me from the all-consuming fear of what would be done to me. I knew it would be humiliating, terrifying and exposing, and I was like a raw nerve that had just been carved away and carved away.
One former drama school principal says this vulnerability is being abused.
Everything is very physical. If you're in an acting class, you're talking, you're exploring life, you're exploring people. It's hugely vulnerable. It just all spills out, creating very vulnerable adults.
And the risk is that that could be exploited?
The risk is that it is being exploited.
We've spoken to over 50 drama school students, past and present, from various schools, and all have shared similar trauma brought on by experiences of harassment and misconduct. Training is intrinsically linked with industry, and there is a perpetual fear of speaking out. And when careers are on the line, reporting anything negative can come with risk.
Formal complaints are dealt with internally, but Anne-Marie says independent oversight is necessary for the training industry to change.
I would want there to be something outside of all the established colleges and for dance and drama colleges where students can go and voice their concerns and they can be heard, staff can go and voice their concerns and they can be heard, and things get properly investigated. Because by default, they're all getting investigated in-house. Well, there's going to be a vested interest in so many things other than the student.
We've spoken to many students and those in the industry as part of this investigation. A spokesperson from the University of Essex, which oversees East 15, says they have updated guidance on conduct and consent, which has been in place since 2021. In a statement, they told us, "We are appalled by the issues that have been raised, which do not reflect the values of our university and East 15. This case was not reported in 2014, but having had this brought to our attention, we are appointing an independent reviewer to complete a full investigation into these very serious allegations. We do not tolerate harassment and bullying of any kind. We actively encourage students to speak out if they have any issues and to report incidents." All of England's leading drama schools are overseen by the Office for Students. The independent regulator is currently seeking to address sexual misconduct in all higher education institutions. But campaigners say this industry needs specific guidance to pierce through this unique environment. Ashna Harunag, Sky News.